Today I'm joined by John Serri, PhD, CEO, and founder of EyeQue. John, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Jesse.
It's an absolute pleasure. So tell me, how'd you get into the industry? Was it always the plan for you?
Well, life takes many, many turns. And up to about a few years before I founded the company, my career was extremely different than the entrepreneur medical device startup that I ended up doing. That's what EyeQue is about. So it started with a friend, and he was the founder of the largest online eyeglass company called Serri Optical. Very, very successful. He created this, people thought they couldn't buy prescription eyeglasses online. Well, he showed that you could, and he was able to break price barriers and everything. So we were friends. We knew each other through our wives. And he said, hey, why can't we do vision tests online? And I said, yeah, seems like a good idea. Why not? So we explored a few things, and we came across some patent that MIT put out. We licensed the technology, and he was a very wealthy fellow. He passed away in 2021. It was a great loss, great friend. But we started up the company very much in stealth mode, and we created a little simple optical device that attaches to a smartphone. You follow the instructions, you see some patterns, and you're able to determine what's called your refractive error. And once you have the refractive error, that means what type of correction is needed so that the light that enters your eye exactly focuses correctly on the retina. That's what eyeglasses do. So we created a way for do-it-yourself at-home tests for eyeglasses. And we just started it. We won many awards. The Consumer Electronics Show loved us. We were democratizing this thing. Of course, you enter a gray area where people say, are you replacing optometrists? That's the natural thing people think of. And it's absolutely no, we're not replacing optometrists. So we've always been, bringing that point out as we evolve the company, as we evolve the technology. So that's kind of a little summary of where we are today and how I got started. But I never would have, 20 years ago or 30 years ago when I was a kid growing up say, gee, I want to invent a way to test vision at home. That never occurred in my little mind at that point.
Well, first thing I'd like to say is I'm sorry for your loss. Your business partner sounded like a great man.
He was a great man, really great man. Visionary. He was the visionary. I'm more the
visionary
guy I'm more the guy who kind of was the brains, the technical brains and the management brains that made it happen. He was the one who had the passion, the vision. Now I'm carrying the vision.
Hey, well, I'm glad to see that somebody's still living on and making his dream a reality.
Yeah.
So you said something which interested me quite a lot. People must be very worried you're going to take away the job of optometrists here. How do you not take away that job quite simply?
Well, refraction is one element of vision. Let's talk about the eyes for a second. The eye is an amazing organ, and it has many parts. There's hundreds of parts of the eye if you go clinically into it. And a lot of those parts can break over time. They degrade. For example, you get cataracts. Cataracts is an effect where over time your lens becomes foggy. It gets cloudy. Your eye lenses are very precisely engineered, biologically engineered through evolution, but engineered nevertheless device that brings the light and focuses on your retina. Well, when that clouds up, you can't see anymore. The light focuses in the back of the eye, the retina. Okay, the retina can be damaged. It can, from, for example, diabetes, you get diabetic retinopathy. This is what the blood vessels begin to really get messed up in the back of the eye, and it includes your ability to see. And there's many diseases. It's glaucoma where the fluid inside the eye clouds up. Then you'll have front type of problems with the cornea that can happen. So it's a complex system. What we do is really one dimension, which is the diagnostic screening of your eyes. How well can you see? And we look at what your refractive error is. That's a very small part of what's required for general eye health. So we're not replacing doctors. In fact, doctors can use our technology, including our telemedicine platform that we've set up, to be able to administer these tests at home under doctor supervision. So we've set up capability to do that, which is taking off. So I want to be friends with eye doctors. I have tremendous respect for what they do. In fact, there's not enough of them. And this is one of the things that's happening. If you look at the growth in the population, especially the aged population, and if you read about the field of what's happening in vision, there's a tremendous growth in what's called myopia, nearsightedness. And what nearsightedness is caused from is the elongation of the eye. The eye elongates a little bit, and therefore the focus is a little bit before the retina. So by the time the light hits the retina, it's sort of defocused. That's not good. Why is it happening? There's different theories of it. Well, part of it is, people using smartphones, kids using smartphones, looking up closely to the phone. That may be having an effect. Also, there's a correlation with how much time you spend outdoors. It seems to slow down this elongation rate when you get a lot of sunshine coming in, and kids don't play outdoors as much. So in some places, like in China, by the time in China, someone is 18 years old, there's about a 80% to 90% chance that they have moderate to severe myopia. This means they need pretty heavy prescription glasses or contacts or a surgical procedure such as LASIK. If it's not treated, it'll get worse as they age, and it could lead to blindness, retinal detachment, stuff like that. So it's very, very, eye care is very important. And the number of doctors, as I said, is actually, as a percentage of the growth of eye problems in the population, it's decreasing. And actually, the number of practicing ophthalmologists in the United States is actually decreasing in sheer number. So you put that against the growth versus the decrease in ophthalmologists practicing, many are retiring. It's a huge shortfall. How is that shortfall going to be filled? Well, there's various ways. Technology is going to help fill that. And EyeQue is one of the avenues for doing that. So that's kind of we're not going to replace doctors. In fact, that's pretty much, I hope that message comes through.
Yeah. So like almost a summary of that would be your product doesn't diagnose people at all. What it does, it more so indicates if you have a problem and then helps monitor that problem down the line.
Yeah, but basically it measures if you have a refractive error. So it's a measurement, and refractive error is considered a medical condition. So in a way, you are diagnosing, you're characterizing a medical condition. So that is a type of diagnosis, but you're not getting to the root of it. And the therapeutic is the eyeglasses or the LASIK or everything else. So we're just basically, and we also have devices that just screen vision. So how sharply do you see? I don't know if you're wearing contacts or you don't wear glasses. I bet
2020.
I've seen enough people, I know enough about eyes that I know you don't need glasses. Okay. And well, that's great. But a lot of people, their vision degrades. By the time you hit the ripe old age of 45, which I had seen many decades ago, you will begin to have problems with your vision. You'll start to see you'll be in a dark place, and you try to read, and you're going to have trouble reading. It's not going to be clear where you used to be able to do that before. And that's because your eye lens is stiffening. It's a natural aging process. So eventually everybody will need glasses. So just that's, it's a universal need that we have. But we screen vision. So we can test for how, the degree of contrast sensitivity you have, the degree of visual acuity you have. How sharp can you see? Can you see a little letter? No. So we create like a virtual eye chart on a phone. So we have a series of these relatively simple tests that a person can perform at home, and then they can be sent over to a doctor for review.
Yeah, like you said, fortunately, I've been pretty lucky with my eye genetics. Never needed glasses. Always had pretty much 20/20.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good thing.
Just understanding the market of eyes quite simply a little bit more. What percentage of, let's go with the American population, needs some sort of glasses or contacts? And out of that percentage, how many are you helping right now?
Yeah, so the numbers really, first of all, there's lots of eyes. And I'll just speak about the US, but when you go global, the numbers are exaggerated even more, and there's less eye care distributed around the world. So in the US now, the US population is around 330 million persons. Of that, on the order of 200 million people have some type of refractive error. Okay, that's a huge amount of the population. It's about 60%. I don't know the exact number, but it's around 60% of the population, a little bit under maybe, has refractive error. A lot of that is older people. Once you're 45 or older, you start to get what's called presbyopia. You need some kind of reading glasses. But that I'm lumping that into it. The people who have with serious eye problems is a much smaller fraction, but nevertheless, it's many, many people. It's a huge, huge market. The eyeglass market in the U.S., vision testing market, you're talking on the order of about $60 billion a year in revenue. Now, what role is EyeQue playing in that? We're playing a minuscule role where, whenever you have a technology, and I've learned this as part of the process of developing EyeQue, it takes a long time for technology to be adopted. Even if it works well, you just have to overcome, for example, the professional business barrier where people say, oh, you're replacing eye doctors? You can't do that. And another big problem is the lack of awareness. So people are not aware that you can do that. So in order to be able to promote something like this, it requires a massive advertising marketing effort or a viral word of mouth effort. Now, viral word of mouth, it works well for some things. So, for example, with eyeglasses themselves, wear the eyeglasses on their head. So, I've seen it in real life. I was at a wedding a number of years ago, and someone sitting there and says, look at my wonderful eyeglasses. I got them online. And I only paid $40. And everybody go, wow, that's fantastic. Tell me where you got them. You don't have that with eye tests. Someone takes a eye test at home. They don't go to the wedding and say, I just took a fantastic eye test. It was absolutely marvelous. No, that does not happen. So it's not a word of mouth viral thing so much. So you have to just get to a lot of people directly. So we're working with different partners. And over time, when COVID hit, that was a big accelerator of these type of do-it-yourself at-home telemedicine services. And, we actually had a big surge in business during that period. It continued, but the awareness thing's big. So you have the awareness, you have the professional nervousness about it. Those are the two main obstacles that you face with anything like this. I give one example. The stethoscope you see at a doctor and all the TV movies wearing a stethoscope. The stethoscope was actually first invented in the early 1800s. It didn't really become an accepted medical device until around the end of the 1800s, around the 1890s. So it took 70 to 80 years before that medical device became accepted. And it's the course of this field. So one has to be patient.
So your main challenge here is really just getting the product out there, right? What does your market share currently look like? Is that way? Let's backtrack a second here.
When you talk about billions, much less than 1%. Okay. And in general, the only company that's actually doing devices like this and offering to consumers, the only company in the world right now that's doing it that I know of is EyeQue. So we're truly a unique company. This technology will take off. It'll take time, but when it takes off, it'll be adopted by someone who has a large footprint in terms of the marketing world, a large pharmaceutical company, a large vision company. It will eventually happen. But right now, the market's minuscule.
Okay. So what are you doing to get your product out there? What does your current marketing strategy or tactics look like?
Well, the marketing is very, very expensive to do direct-to-consumer marketing. So right now, actually, I've cut back on marketing over the last 2 years for the reason is I wanted to improve the product itself. So there's no product's ever perfect. You can always make it better. And we wanted to develop more the telemedicine side and get the doctor into the loop, as opposed to just being a pure consumer type device where they would get a refraction and then it would go buy online glasses in many cases. That in itself is a gray area with respect to regulation, since you're supposed to have a medical prescription, eyeglass prescription for eyeglasses, but the online eyeglass companies kind of provided an easy mechanism to purchase eyeglasses because the checks weren't that rigorous. A lot of people were purchasing that through an eye doctor. So that's natural. The process works well and eyeglasses are effective. So one is improve the technology, improve the platform. So, the company itself, including myself, I have a PhD in physics. I'm more of a technologist. My company, my other main person in the company right now, he's also a PhD in physics. So we're not eye doctors. We have about 35 different patents with various technologies. So we're still developing now. We're taking a slow approach with this. And then we'll be looking, we're working with different companies for possibly distribution, because I don't want to, it'll cost me literally tens of millions of dollars, okay, to get direct reach through Google Ads or Facebook or other things. We're also beginning to sell on some platforms like Temu. We sold on Amazon very successfully over the years. So we do go through those platforms as well. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. Changing gears here a little bit. This time of year, medical companies and medtech companies specifically are looking into their budgets for the next year. Correct me if I'm wrong. But out of interest here, what does your marketing and, I guess, outreach budget look like for the upcoming year? You can
Very
give me
small.
percentages if you don't want to give me
Very
numbers.
small. I'm not here to really discuss marketing allocations or anything like that. It is small. And the company, we have our own internal marketing. We're not going out. What I have done with some companies, and it kind of works, is if a marketing company wants to work with EyeQue, that's fine, as long as they're willing to partner and take some of the risk. In other words, I'm not going to go pay for an expensive ad campaign that doesn't work because I don't have the budget to do that. Because I can easily expend millions of dollars through various marketing agencies. So I've kind of not done that. But if a marketing company wants to learn about EyeQue, work with us, help develop some campaigns, and say they would get a big share of the revenue if they can clearly demonstrate the benefit of that. And I've had some companies interested. Most marketing companies are not interested in doing that. They would rather, not take the risk. I can understand that entirely. So that's how I deal with that. I have some budget for marketing, but it's not, again, I'm not putting a lot of the effort into, I have 50,000 users right now, on the order of 50,000. I have about 150,000 members of the EyeQue network. So a lot of my effort goes into support. It goes into B2B business development, which isn't really the same type of consumer marketing. We do have a large, we sell to optical stores so people can do testing there. So we're doing some outreach in that area as well. So that's how we're kind of getting out there.
So what does your product actually cost? Is it a once-off payment or is it more of a monthly recurring fee?
We have a series of products. The basic product, which is called Vereye, which uses, again, the basic, what's called a refractometer, and the app. And what happens is you get, as you test, we actually then send you a pair of eyeglasses to make sure you're seeing well with them. And we have a test for that. The whole thing costs $129. And that includes 6 months of what we call vision tracking service. So the vision tracking service is you have access to the EyeQue portal to look at your results and testing. We have various reports. We have a lot of analytics built into the platform. So people can look at their vision. But the cost for the tracking service is a fee of $29 a year. Because we do need to, we have servers that we're doing. We need to have some sustainability. I know people don't like subscription services. We felt it would be important to do that. Our B2B customers also pay for a subscription service. It's pretty modest. If they want to sell 1 or 2 pairs of eyeglasses a month using our service, they've already made the cost of the subscription service up in terms of profit. So then we have other devices, and we have some free apps. So we have an app to measure pupillary distance with an iPhone. It's a free app. You go to the App Store. We've had millions of people use it. We have an app, which, again, the company's unique in this technology that can measure the degree of presbyopia that you have. We're the only ones that have that. You can get that in the App Store. Right now, it's free. So we have a number of free apps. We also have some visual acuity tools and screening tools for contrast sensitivity, color sensitivity, that we have free versions and for sale type versions. So that's kind of the products. We have about 7 registered devices with the FDA right now.
Awesome. So for my interest, what are your free products called? Because I'm always happy to give something a try.
Sure. If you go to iPhone, you can just go to EyeQue, and there'll be one is called PDAR, and it'll allow you to just hold the phone in front of you, and what it'll do is it'll calculate, because it uses the ranging capability in the iPhone, it'll calculate what your pupillary distance is, which is very important for ordering eyeglasses. You need to get the pupillary distance right, because the center of the lens where the optic axis is needs to line up with that. Otherwise, people will complain of distortion. The eyeglasses won't work as well. So that's one of the tools. The other one is, again, you don't need this stuff personally at this point, but you can, there's a tool which is called My Reader Number, which is a presbyopia estimation tool. So you can, if you say working on your computer, what kind of glasses would I need if I have presbyopia to see clearly? And say my computer's about 2 feet away, my screen's 2 feet away, then using that, it'll estimate what you should get as a lens. Then you can just go to a drugstore, try them on, and see if they work. And then if you're reading books closer, maybe 16 inches or so from you, then there's a different type of strength that you would want to use for the glasses. So there's a range of those. So those 2 apps I would encourage you to use. And we also, on our website, you can get a free color vision test. And we also offer a free visual acuity test. So we offer a lot of free things, but that's part of what the goal is. EyeQue is not out to try to generate, tremendous revenues. We would like to create revenue and everything, but a big part of the company is just try to offer some help to people. The device, our stuff is used in about 120 countries around the world. People all over the world buy our stuff and they use it multiple times. We have people, we started selling, we've been doing this for a while. We started selling in 2017. Those people from 2017 are still using our device consistently, religiously, and every time we come out with something new, they're ready to, sign on. So we have a good brand, I feel, and we have some good demonstrated customer loyalty that spans almost approaching a decade. I feel good about that.
Yeah, it's something you should feel good about. Immediately, I'm going to go tell my parents, who are both getting to that age where they need to start looking into this stuff about your company. And I guarantee they'll at bare minimum check it out.
Yeah, have them, My Reader Number. If now, you have my email address. Any specific questions come up, just have them email me and I will be able to probably help them.
Beautiful. So, John, before we hop off here, if anybody does want to get in contact with you or your company, can they do so?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I'm stealth. No, I'm only kidding. If I was stealth, I wouldn't be doing this, would I? The best way is through LinkedIn. So you just look up John Serri. There's probably a few John Serris there. I have some cousins and things. But the John A. Serri is me. And then you'll see EyeQue. Or you can search for EyeQue, and then I should show up as well. So that's the best way to get in contact with me. And I'm very respectful of people's time and interests. So, just about everybody who reaches out to me, I get about, 20 people reaching out to me a day, various capacities. I generally respond back, but I work just through LinkedIn. I don't do Facebook or Telegraph or WhatsApp or anything like that. I'm strictly like to stick with Zoom, Google Meet, and LinkedIn.
Very professional. And then
I stick to the professional.
And then last but certainly not least, do you have any pearls of wisdom or pieces of advice you'd like to leave for our listeners?
Well, sure. How many hours do I have?
Your favorite one.
I'll just, say a few things. With respect to the entrepreneurial path, all right, it's got a lot of pros and a lot of cons. There's a lot of highs. You can take yourself to a place you haven't been before, both in a positive way and in a negative way. So if you have passion, you want to do something you're interested in, you're passionate about, because there's always going to be hard times. You want to, I think, again, maybe it's a little bit me more than others, but I think you do want to be patient with stuff. And you need to really be careful with every step, especially in starting up. I was very lucky. Luck is a factor. I was very lucky that I happened to hire a couple of, in my opinion, almost genius level type of optical engineers that helped me, who were much better than me at optics. And we were able to, get this thing out there and working really well quickly. So be careful with who you pick. That's the entrepreneurial story. Medical device story is, it takes a long time to really get a good medical device out there. You're often going to have to deal with regulatory issues. Dealing with clinical trials, which we've done, is very expensive. So that's a long, difficult path. Don't expect, if you want to become a multimillionaire with and have a big yacht floating around San Francisco Bay or something, it's not the medical device path. I would encourage people not, to really think deeply about that in that sense. And the other sense is, I'll say the last words in perspective on life. When I was younger, I was a lot more arrogant and not as wise. Age does some good things to you. Not all good, but some good things. And one is you appreciate more all the people who've helped you along the way. And, I've really come in the last 5, 6 years to appreciate how many people helped me all through my path, starting from when I was in grammar school up through working at MIT. I had some rough spots. I was really helped a lot by different people. Points in my career, people have gone out of the way to help me. Just appreciate those people. Appreciate your family because they help you too. And so that gives me a warm sense. So I, in a sense, want to give back. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with EyeQue. That's
Well,
my advice.
John, thank you